This video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. When it comes to discussing topics for my weird episode series, I admittedly ham it up a bit. Oh my god, Jenny with her exoskeleton. It's just so scary. Oh, Ozzy's pregnant. Good lord. Carl has an alien in his butt. All right, that one was actually kind of weird. But nothing, absolutely nothing, has hit me harder than the K&D episode called PINKEYE. I forgot about this. It's like my memory wanted to defend me from the existential dread of knowing that this episode actually exists. And being the fool that I am, I decided to rewatch it. I had to pause multiple times while watching this. I had to look away. I actually felt my skin become clammy and my blood run cold. I know. I said that Dark Harvest, the Oregon episode of Invader Zim, was the worst. I want to make an annulment to that, if that's the right word. I want to make a change. This episode of K&D is so much worse. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you might want to turn back right now. And if you do know what I'm talking about, then you know my pain.
Joe, speak to me.
Okay, the series rundown. K&D, Kids Next Door, was created by Mr. Warburton, who previously worked on the production of Beavis and Butthead and was also the lead character designer for Pepper Ann. I first recall hearing about Mr. Warburton through a pilot series called Kenny and the Chimp. The pilot for that was released in 1998, but then Mr. Warburton released his pilot for K&D in 2001, which got picked up by Cartoon Network. The full series was released in 2002 and would run until 2006. The synopsis for the series is basically you've got a bunch of kids who have a tree house. It's like a connection of kids across the world who are spies. Their entire purpose is to combat and hold back adult oppression across the globe. Most of these adults with their characters are like borderline superhero villains, comic book villains. I haven't forgotten about you, Count Spankula. And that's the main gist of the show. Kids with their 2x4 technology trying to combat the evil of adults with their oppressive eating your broccoli, going to bed on time, do your homework. And for what it's worth, I like the premise. I thought the show had a lot of fun. I think that it grew in very interesting directions. I will never forget the Star Wars Battle of Yavin parody. We've got these kids riding their school bikes through a principal's hallway. It's ridiculous, and yet kid me loved it. It spoke to me on a very, no pun intended, childlike level. So much so that when I became a teenager, I actually thought about K&D and I was like, oh no, I'm the bad guy now. And now I'm an adult, so I guess I'm very much so a bad guy. Well, to be fair, I'm not mature, so maybe that's my saving grace. Speaking of not mature, how about you let this grown man-child tell you about this episode and why it's so diabolical and gross? So this episode plays out like a detective noir story, where you've got the black and white, the self-narrating private investigator who, for us in this episode, is being done by number 2, aka, and I found his full name, by the way, it is Hoagie Pennywhistle Gilligan Jr. That's one hell of a name. So number 2 is at the school, talking about his delicious apple crumble, talking about being a detective and how difficult it is. You know, the typical noir spiel. It's not easy being a detective. Or the entire, she walked into my office, long, tall, and a coat of water. I don't know noir. What the hell did I just say? A coat of water? I would be the worst detective. All right, so the entire premise of this episode is how Hoagie is trying to find out why there has been a pink eye epidemic at the school. Somebody's going around shooting these water balloons, and somehow these water balloons can give kids pink eye. But Hoagie can't find out who is the person behind these water balloon attacks. There's some other investigator. Hoagie knows him. Hoagie says, like, you don't know what you're doing, kid. You're just going around being a pathetic detective. Let me do the work. Get out of my way. You're just slowing me down. So you got a bit of a pushback between these two.
She was in my office 5 minutes ago.
Was she now?
Listen, Joe, don't try pinning this on me.
But then, oh no, the girl character who's Scottish, I believe, she gets put into the nurse ward because she caught pink eye. She even went to number 2 being like, wait, actually, she didn't need him for anything. She just needed paper towels because Hoagie's sitting in the janitor's closet because he's a complete dork like that. All right, so the plot thickens where all these kids are getting pink eye. Number 2's trying to find out. He follows the breadcrumbs, I guess, or the apple crumbs, and eventually arrives at the nurse's office. We've seen the nurse early on in the episode. She's going around picking up the kids whenever they get pink eye and takes them back to the nurse's office.
Now don't you worry, little missy. Nurse Claiborne knows just what to do with ya.
Hiya, Miss Claiborne. Good batch of crumble this week.
But while at the nurse's office, Hoagie, who's like talking to the nurse about her apple crumble being like the tastiest dessert ever and how he looks forward to it, well, he opens a door he probably should not have opened. Because on the other side is something that is so nightmarish, so gross, so awful that I had to pause the episode and walk away. It was that bad. I was literally watching this with a friend, and I looked at him and I said, how was this allowed on television? How the hell did this get past the censors? This is one of the nastiest things I've ever seen. Like, I know, again, I ham it up, guys. I really do. But no joke, watch the following and tell me that I'm wrong. What the hell? So the nurse is giving kids pink eye, which, by the way, pink eye is typically transmitted because someone's picking at their butt and got fecal matter in their fingers, and then they brought said fecal matter to their eyes. So that means the water balloon is full of fecal matter, most likely. And the nurse is going around giving the kids pink eye so she can, and not just pink eye, not just like, oh, my pink eye's a little bit crusty. I'm talking full on, their bodies are coated, this crusty eye garbage crud surrounding their body. It's almost like a cocoon for some of these people. And then the nurse uses the pink eye crust as the topping for her apple crumble. Oh, God. What were you on, Mr. Warburton? This is awful. This is terrible. And I'm so glad that my brain shielded me from this for so many years. But of course, I had to face the truth all over again. And it's looking me right in the eye, right in the pink eye. Even number 2 can't get over it. He has this first initial wave of like, this is disgusting. And then the nurse starts to monologue and he's like, are you serious? Like, look at this. This is awful. I'm not over this yet. Because he's been eating it. The kids around the school have been eating the eye crust on the dessert. Oh, that is nightmarish. That is like the stuff of nightmares.
Can we just go back to how totally disgusting this is? I mean, I'm lucky I didn't just have lunch.
So the nurse is like, you'll never take me alive, aims the water balloon gun at her head, which I was like, are we really getting at this right now too? The nurse then shoots the water gun, disappears in an explosion of eye crust, and you can hear her running away. So I guess she escapes being captured. And then the kids are saved from the eye. I can't even say it with a straight face. The eye crust extraction room. And fortunately, the kids were liberated, thank God. K&D came by and saved the day. But then they have to hit you with this at the end, of course. What's the actual base, the filling of the apple crumble made out of? I wonder.
So, if the crumble topping was eye crust, what was the filling?
Awful. Just awful. Guys, no joke. This is legitimately hard to watch. I know I get crazy and I'm like, oh, these are all so terrible, these episodes with all their strange comings and goings. But for real, this one takes the cake. Hey, it takes the apple crumble. It is insanely hard to watch. And if you are queasy and you don't like this kind of stuff, then I don't know why you're watching this video, and never watch the episode either, because it is awful. At this point, I don't know what potentially could top this as a weird episode as far as extremes go. I really don't. And if it does exist, I don't know if I want to meet it. So guys, don't let me know. Keep your suggestions far away from me. So a big shout out to this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN. For way too long, I went without a VPN service, thinking it wasn't necessary. Good God, I was wrong. I know, a bunch of content creators go along with a sponsor saying that they're awesome, but I mean this. Every person should have a VPN service, and ExpressVPN is the way to go. It's an awesome tool that gives you private and more secure access to the internet. It also allows you to secure a connection and also encrypts your data without slowing down your computer's speed. In this day and age, online security and privacy is a must. And this is a smart way to protect yourself. You also get access to server locations in over 90 countries and have full access to a variety of shows and movies that are region locked. As of late, for me, I've been watching Dragon Ball Super on Japanese Netflix. Plus, ExpressVPN is the #1 VPN service rated by TechRadar. It's very intuitive and works on multiple devices: Windows, Android, iOS, Mac, and many others. For less than $7 a month, you can get the service. Trust me, that is absolutely worth the cost for having this amount of protection and freedom. Again, there's a lot of region-locked stuff, such as a variety of anime on Japanese Netflix. But with ExpressVPN, I was able to access it. Super easy stuff. So go to expressvpn.com/Saberspark to take back your internet privacy today and find out how you can get 3 months for free.